Everyone, and welcome to this week's MEDDIC Live. I'm delighted today to say that I'm joined by Rizan Flenner from iSEEit, and we're going to be talking about Salesforce hygiene and also how we can benefit the entire ecosystem by using MEDDIC and MEDDIC as a qualification opportunity. So just a little bit of reminder about the webinars that we're running. So this is the fifth, I think, in the series of webinars that we've been running, where we've been talking about different parts of the ecosystem getting involved with MEDDIC and MEDDPIC, and also how you can better embed MEDDIC and MEDDPIC into your organizations. So we've been providing some top tips from some of our partners and our customers, and we're going to continue through over the next few weeks around that. So the way that we run these webinars is off the back of our newsletter, which came out this Tuesday. And specifically on Tuesday, we talked about MEDDIC for marketing. So why would MEDDIC be interesting for marketing, and how can marketing teams capitalize on using the same common language as the sales teams or the rest of the go-to-market? So let's get started with the webinar. So delighted to have Rizan with us. So hi, Rizan. Thanks very much for joining us today.
Hi, thanks for the invitation.
Amazing. So maybe just for our listeners, you could just do an introduction to yourself and a little bit about iSEEit, a bit about the background.
Yeah, so my name is Rizan Flenner. I'm the founder of iSEEit. I personally got a sales background, so I've been in sales most of my career. But lately, like 10 years ago, we built the MEDDIC app on Salesforce, and there's a good reason for that. When I started very long time ago, I started IBM and Computer Associates, and they all had really good sales culture. And we went through a lot of training, like Miller Heyman, value selling, target account selling, and they've all been fantastic at the time, but very, very process oriented. And then when I got in touch with a company called Mercury Interactive, it was the first time I got in touch with MEDDIC, and I literally fell in love the very first time. I loved it for its simplicity, for its very easy and natural way to just qualify the customer's prospects' buying intent and really understand how they could come into or accomplish a buying decision, right? Very natural way, really dissect all these little items. And I found it very, very cool to complement to my natural sales skills. I was really good in building champions, really good in understanding how decisions are being made. But on the metrics part of things, and maybe on some of the decision criteria, I was always weak in qualifying. And although I had a very good performance and I was really overachieving on my targets, I really was able to raise the bar for myself, and which eventually gave me the chance to get promoted. And then at companies like Dynatrace, BMC, where we worked together, and MongoDB, I was able to build up teams and also better understand where my sales teams failed, right? So as a natural salesperson, you know how to do things, but to really understand where somebody needs help or maybe fails to qualify some of the items is not so easy when you don't have a structured approach. And here's where MEDDIC gives you enough structure to really understand where things fall apart, but gives you still the freedom to not give up your natural way of selling. Really love that. And when it comes to iSEEit and why we've built it, it's basically you need to document this information somewhere. And we used to do this on Word documents, on spreadsheets, super spreadsheets, where we had all this information in the system. But you know, it's really out of date the moment you write it, and the common repository such as CRM, and we are focusing on Salesforce at the moment, is really beautiful because you can have accurate data real time for your QBRs, for your sales forecasting reviews, or even like for the marketing people to really obtain information they need in order to make a better job. And really proud to say that this year we're going to have 10 years, and I'm going to celebrate it a bit and hopefully together.
Oh, amazing. No, that's great. Thanks very much for that. Yeah, it's interesting about you saying about the simplicity. I tell the story often about when I joined BMC. I was curious about how these sales leaders who I'd never met before could tell me how I'd closed every deal I've ever closed and lost every deal I'd ever lost. And they'd managed
scary, isn't it?
figures, which was quite frightening, actually, which was,
yeah.
It was an amazing simplicity for me as well, because it meant that you could just take that secret sauce and do something with it. No, that's great. Thanks very much for the introduction there. So we talked this week about specifically MEDDIC and marketing, but we've been on a theme about getting the whole ecosystem involved in MEDDIC and MEDDPIC. So first question I have for you, and feel free, listeners, if you want to put some questions in the Q&A, we can take some questions towards the end. But what are your thoughts around MEDDIC with marketing or MEDDPIC with marketing? How can the marketing teams really utilize that data in the CRM, and maybe some of your sort of key thoughts there?
Yeah, so it's amazing. I had the chance to talk with a lot of amazing marketing people, and one of the biggest question, or maybe insecurity of the marketing people, was to really understand the ingredients of those opportunities, right? You can imagine as a marketing person, I'm sure you can resonate with this. You're sitting in these sales meetings on QBRs and they talk about the deals, and after some time you feel like lost in all this information. And I think what MEDDIC does here is it really gives you a structured way to understand what the deals are about, right? We talk about pain points, we talk about the decision criteria, we talk about quantification of pain. And this is really nicely set up in the MEDDIC ecosystem, that you can really start following what the people are talking. And then when you are able to follow and proactively think about how could I contribute, and this is not only for marketing, this is for pre-sales, as customer support, CSMs, services departments, product marketing guys, they all talk about the same thing. It's much easier to follow now, and I now understand where the sales team would need our support. And that's the real beauty about MEDDIC. And when it really is about marketing, the beauty about MEDDIC for the marketing people is actually that it can really help in their core functions. One of them is generating leads. There's this big discussion like, what are the right ICPs? And we always talk about the deal size, or the size of the companies, the industries. But MEDDIC gives you much more information around it, like what are the pain points? What are some of the decision criteria that people are really defining what they want to look for? Or what personas are we covering, right? And now if you get this additional information to what you already collected, it's really powerful. And we do have a lot of clients that said with MEDDIC and we're documenting this information, all the won deals and the lost deals, they were able to narrow down these ICPs to the real bare essentials, where they can really turn the needle rather than just like really boil the ocean.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's really great. And in fact, that's very much in line with some of the things that we talk to people about on our courses, because quite often when we're doing some of the assessments at the beginning to see the types of case studies that people have, quite often they're missing the metrics. And one of the things we do is we work with marketing to say, well, actually, you need the metrics because that feeds the beginning of the machine, which is the lead generation. How do you be relevant for your clients? How do you demonstrate that you've got value that you can deliver? I think that's just really important. And that whole machine just is one cycle that just keeps going round. So really important that the marketing teams hear what the salespeople are doing, but also they then use that information to create collateral as well. One thing, sorry, go on. Yeah.
No, it's I just want to like piggyback on that. It's really important because the client doesn't want to talk about functions, features, or even sometimes benefits, right? They would like to understand what kind of business impact did it have, right? And so what we've done with some of the marketing teams is we started, I'm sure you know the concept of the value-based selling, where you have these value drivers, where you start like, what is the pain point? What are the sort of negative consequences deriving out of this? How would good look like for the client? Really talking about decision criteria. And then how would I quantify this, right? And then based on the successes we have, we could add the outcomes of it, really measurable outcomes. So For example, when we started iSEEit, we really worked together with marketing very closely to see, hey, we just closed this client. Let's have a post call together with you in marketing to really understand what are the values they want to accomplish, right? And a year later, we were sitting down with them, and it was amazing what we got out, right? We heard like really nice metrics, like 17% increase of the win rate. We heard like we closed the 3 biggest deals in the company's history. We were able to overachieve on every quarter, right? So there's a lot of good things in MEDDIC that if you collect it at time, you can then piggyback and leverage on marketing later on to make these fantastic success stories, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, that's absolutely what we see as well. Like customer success, driving the outcomes, and then case studies that then fall from that. And let's face it, salespeople will sell more if they see that there's been success and they see the value. And obviously the marketing teams are very key to making sure that that message gets out there for sure. But I've got a point just to, a question just to ask you off the back of that then, because we've all been salespeople and we've all been told to fill in our CRM. And we're talking now about filling the CRM in to assist another team marketing, which people may feel good or bad about. But what's your thoughts on the balance between CRM hygiene and useful information for the rest of the organization?
Yeah, so I have to be honest here and hold myself accountable on that as well. It's really that salespeople don't necessarily like to document the deals. I hear things like, why do I need to document things which is clear to me anyway? Why do I need to put something into the CRM if nobody looks at it? And here like are the 2 biggest points where we have to think about is how much of information do I need to be shared, right? What we see with our clients that sometimes they're just super excited of what's possible in MEDDIC and then collect enormous data, right? Where salespeople feel like that's an absolute overkill. Doesn't fit for all of my opportunities. They don't think about like how could this be really worked out on a daily basis. And I already mentioned it, the second biggest piece, besides having to take this additional time and efforts to redocument something, is if this data is not leveraged. And I find the real pity that some of the organizations believe that, presenting a book of MEDDIC and then salesperson read about it, and then I want to have a MEDDIC related forecast is doing the job. It's actually not. It's more a culture of really helping each other to really understand and qualify these opportunities together, get different angles from especially the biggest deals or the bigger deals, but not only the big deals. Allow the information which is documented in the CRM being reused by other people. And there are simple things like, again, let's talk about marketing, like really going into the system, going into the closed deals and understand where did we win the deals, right? What were the pain points? What were the required capabilities? What were some of the unique selling points where we can then, of this information, build proof points that we can, again, give back to the whole sales team of like, where did we win deals? Why did they choose us? What were the benefits for the client? Really easy talk tracks that I can share back to the sales team where I say, hey, this actually makes sense now to me, right? I'm giving in some of my time, but I'm gaining back some more feedback, right? I can get my battle cards, I can get proof points that I can reuse for my clients. I get fantastic success stories that I can then share with my clients who have doubt that it will really fit for their environment. So this is where it really starts kicking off when the whole organization starts thinking MEDDIC, really qualifying building up the language. Everybody understands what the champion is. I don't have to reiterate the same information to all of the other people, all of the other departments. My manager knows where to find this information in Salesforce. The product marketing team that needs to have a product-related forecast at the end of the quarter will be able to run a report with all the necessary information out of Salesforce. This is where salespeople really buy in. And this is where we see that sales organization and the supporting parties really become super efficient, where they are knowledgeable about what works, what doesn't work. There's no accusing, there's only transparent information. And this is where it really works out.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. Yeah, and just on that, I think just that key point that you mentioned there, which is, you know, the efficiency of the organization. What we're talking about here is we're talking about using the CRM data to set everybody's priorities. So often, you know, marketing people or product marketing are helping create battle cards, for example, which is how do we compete against our competitors? You know, what are our USPs? But often marketing or the product teams complain about the fact that new competitors pop up. They're not entered into the CRM. They didn't even know that those people existed. There's usually a bit of an argument about, you know, why do we not know that these people existed? But actually, everybody's so busy. So how do we use the data to prioritize all of the resources across the whole go-to-market?
I think it's a very, competitors is a very good example, and we have built into iSEEit a point where it says competitors. We will put in the known suspects, but we'll also give the chance to salespeople to just mark or add another one, where then the marketing and product marketing teams can run constant reports of deals lost and deals won. And have it associated to a competitor, which could be do-it-yourself, for example, which turns out to be one of the biggest competitors these days, or just do nothing. But it's really amazing if you leverage this data and salespeople understand that if I click on this competitor, I'm not getting, again, these reports of who did we compete against and who did we lose against, right? This is, I guess, the hygiene that not only the salespeople, but the whole organization needs to do too. And it starts with the managers, to be honest, right? And I have to take me on my nose as well and then pull me and say, hey, if I ask my team to really enter this information, I need to also first check in Salesforce, what do we know? And here also, we try to make it as easy as possible for the sales leaders to use it. For example, I'm not sure if we will discuss this later on, but like one of the biggest and best ways to leverage MEDDIC and leverage Salesforce or any other CRM is to really do these joint deal reviews together. And every time when I see clients really taking off, and I mean really taking off, it's a little bit worth the education and exercises to really build it up. But if they start doing regular deal reviews, and with a deal review, I mean not only just a manager pounding on a salesperson to close the deal and what it takes to close the deal, but I really invite the sales supporting parties, such as pre-sales, services, product marketing, and we take maybe 2 or 3 deals a week, where we really walk through the MEDDIC ingredients of this deal and have the others contribute with good questions, maybe some insightful information about the client, or maybe with some really good ideas how to overcome some of the situations, like we don't have the metrics or we can't get to the economic buyer. Then it really takes off. So, and then also the salesperson, they come out of this meeting with a huge list of potential activities that they can do in order to qualify or requalify or harden their case. Then it really takes off. And it starts then sort of like rolling by itself, right? But the sales leaders actually really, really, really need to take the time, not much, but like maybe 1.5 hours a week for the first line managers to really go to 3 deals a week with the team, invite the supporting parties to really build this culture of transparent way of discussing the fact of a deal and not discuss about the salespeople's ability to close this deal or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah, there's so many things in there for marketing and for other teams. It's definitely one of the best practices that I've seen over time. When I was working at SAP, that was something that we did quite a lot. We invited all of the teams in for lots of reasons. You know, it's really important for other team members to listen to why you're winning or where you're being blocked. But also, if you think about marketing teams or the pre-sales teams, it's their opportunity as well to help create excuses to talk to the customer when you are getting blocked. So, for example, we'd quite often strategize with the marketing team about getting to the champion, getting to the economic buyer when they go missing or when there's a challenge and we suddenly have a blackout period. Are there events that we can create? Are there excuses that we can come up with? But you get some really creative ideas from marketing and from the pre-sales teams to be able to do that. So let's talk about top tips in just a second. So if anybody's got any questions for Rizan, please feel free to pop them into the chat. So top tips sounds like deal reviews and manager involvement is something that you'd add into your top tips, Rizan. I'm wondering if you wanted to elaborate on that point or any additional points.
I think we talked about the top management. We talked about the deal reviews. I would suggest to have regular sessions with especially the new people. What I see a lot is that there's an excellent way to have new hire sales trainings where they get through a curriculum and they really learn everything about the products, MEDDIC and all the pieces. But then when they are back in the field, and I guess ties back into these deal reviews, to have maybe somebody, a senior person, to be sort of like a buddy, right? Where they could shadow them, understand how I could potentially, as a young salesperson, qualified, I'm talking to the right person, right? They might feel a little bit uneasy to ask those qualification questions, right? So it's really super important to have sort of like learning, inspirational, open way in a safe environment to discuss about how I can improve and rather than just like to really deliver. And that's something where I sometimes feel like we're overcomplicating things on MEDDIC. We're using it as more the stick and not the carrot, where we are holding people accountable for not knowing something without actually enabling them to understand how to get to this information, right? Because I don't know any of the clients that are openly talking about their metrics and benefits, right? This is very, very difficult, and especially if the salespeople are new to the system. It's gonna be difficult, and obviously, if marketing people or other supporting departments don't know too much about it, I think we need to take time and really make them understand what it's about, and then they can start contributing.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. We often get some resistance from more senior salespeople who feel like they've been selling for 20 years and why should they need to go through MEDDIC training again? But actually, even every time we teach the MEDDIC training or the MEDDIC training, you know, we learn something, or we learn something around the way that somebody's thinking about a particular deal. And that information is just so vital for those new members of the team, because they get to hear why people are buying, who's buying, what the metrics are, how you ask the questions. But also, I think vitally for the enablement teams as well, the teams are discussing where that information is. So how do they get that information within the organization, whether that's marketing or enablement have posted that, or the leaders, but they get to hear who's got the stories. So then when they get themselves a little bit dangerous and getting an opportunity, they can then call on some people to help them close. So really important for onboarding as well. Okay. Great. Okay. Well, we're coming to the end of the session now. Any other final thoughts, Rizan, for today, either on the hygiene side of things or getting all of the teams in the ecosystem involved in MEDDIC or MEDDPIC?
No, I think it's not a one-time exercise, right? I really believe to really culturally change a person that's grown up, and this is what MEDDIC does to a certain extent. It feels itchy to talk about those deals and especially the things you don't know. It takes time to really get used to that. And in the different cultures, especially in Europe, it's very uneasy for the people to not know something. Where in some of like in the US or Asia, it's even worse. We need to really understand that it's not easy. Always try to make a safe environment, tackle the facts and not the people. And then I feel that these companies that have accomplished this task and really got an open, transparent way to communicate about successes and also about losses in a MEDDIC way, they really go through the roof. It's nice to see, but I would like to see more clients of ours and yours potentially to really get to the beauty of MEDDIC. That's my final thought. And MEDDIC is done every day, every session, every meeting. It's not a one-time exercise.
No, that's great. Absolutely. Safe environment is so important. We actually banned the words "I think" from deal reviews because thinking is, you get no brownie points for thinking something. You need to go ask that question for sure. That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Rizan. Absolute pleasure to be partnering with you and pleasure to have you on the webinar today. Thanks so much.
Pleasure was on my side. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And thanks everybody for joining this session today. If you do have any questions about some of the content that we've provided, please do come back to us and let us know. The links to the blog, if you click on resources, you can see the blogs in this series around the ecosystem. And we look forward to seeing you on our next session where we'll be talking about MEDDIC and MEDDPIC with a partner environment. Thanks very much.